Hi, let's take another question. What are the basic differences between the relational database system and a Hadoop distributed file Hadoop system? So what are the fundamental differences between RDBMS and a HDFS system? So let's try to compare one by one from the all different dimensions. Let's say from the data type point of view. So RDBMS mostly rely on a structured data, whereas the HDFS relies on either structured data, semi-structured data, or even unstructured data. So Hadoop has a no limitation, HDFS has a no limitation of the data type. It just accept any kind of data either in a form of structure, semi-structure or unstructured data, whereas RDBMS has a very hard code defined schema. That's why it is always a structured data. Now let's think in terms of processing capability. So RDBMS has always a structured data, so only SQL or even a PL SQL kind of query only you can apply on the top of those structured data, whereas in case of Hadoop all kinds of datas are available. So there is a very generic data processing framework like a MapReduce, and it just run all those MapReduce tasks in a very much parallel fashion across a huge numbers of machines. So data capability in case of HDFS or data processing capability in case of HDFS is very high compared to RDBMS. Now in case of RDBMS the schema is always fixed, but in case of Hadoop there is no schema is fixed. Now the schema is always fixed, that's why you can do multiple time write operation. So if your database already knows about the schema, so based on schema it easily writes. So it is created based on the write policy. But in case of Hadoop there is no particular schema, so it is on a read policy actually. So Hadoop is basically meant for write once and read number of times, whereas in case of RDBMS you can keep writing because you have already a structured data plus schema is already defined earlier stage only. Now schema is already defined in case of RDBMS, so in that case the reads are very much faster, read are faster. But in case of Hadoop distributed file system HDFS there is no schema is defined, that's why the write is very faster. Why write is faster in case of Hadoop distributed file system? The reason is that there is no schema defined, so there is no validation happen. Once there is no validation happen, whatever data you supply to the HDFS system it just simply throws and it will just write it into HDFS fashion. Whereas in case of RDBMS whenever you want to write anything it takes little time because it did all those schema validation with whatever the data you want to insert into RDBMS system. That's why write is very much slower, but in case of instead of writing the read is very much faster because the schema is already known, so you know where particular place that particular table exists, so you can read it very much fast. Now RDBMS is fit for online transaction processing. So for the OLTP kind of operation, online transaction processing, wherever there is a frequent read frequent write kind of operations are happening in this kind of application, this RDBMS is very useful because writing is very much easy in case of RDBMS, because RDBMS is meant for whenever you have a frequent update to the database, RDBMS is very much useful. But Hadoop and HDFS file system is not meant for this kind of processing, so it is meant for the particular time you just write once and keep reading and keep processing those data. So it has very much different philosophy, HDFS file system. So HDFS works on a OLAP, online analytics processing. OLAP kind of system it will work. So just write once and read multiple times. So that is the basic difference between RDBMS and HDFS, let's just summarize in a very quick manner. So RDBMS works on a only structured data, whereas HDFS works on a structured, semi-structured, even unstructured data. RDBMS, on the top of UK, for the data processing, you can apply just SQL or PSQL kind of query, whereas in HDFS all those data or data processing capability is very high. You can run the MapReduce program in a parallel fashion to get the data you're even more faster. RDBM has a very much good writing capability, because writing is even slower, but it has a good writing capability because schema is very well defined in the earlier stage only, whereas in case of HDFS is not made for the frequent writing capability. It has a philosophy of like write once and read multiple times. RDBMS is a read very much faster. Why? Because the schema is already defined. So once the schema is defined, you know particular table is where it is located, you just read it from that particular location. Whereas in case of HDFS, the writing is very much faster because there is no schema defined. So while inserting data, there is no validation happen, and it just, when as soon as you throw the data, it will just put it into HDFS fashion. So writing is very much faster. Where in case of HDFS, OLTP, online transaction processing, whenever there is a frequent update of any kind of data, at that time only RDBMS is very much useful. And in case of analytics kind of processing or huge amount of data processing part, OLAP kind of processing, HDFS is very much useful. So that's all about the basic difference between the HDFS and relational database system. I hope you enjoy listening to this video, and if you think that I have lost some of the points or major basic differences between the RDBMS and HDFS, please write it into comment. If you haven't subscribed my channel, please do subscribe it. At last, thank you guys for the watching.